Howdy, peeps. Welcome back to another episode of Storytime. This one's pretty comical. This is very creative, and I have to laugh. I'm not going to lie to you. This is pretty funny for somebody that was very creative. So, when I first moved here about, I don't know, 18 years ago, I don't remember the exact date, probably around 18 years ago, the when I was interviewing, it was so funny. I did two interviews on the same day, like within 45 minutes of each other. And I got hired at one place, which was like a seafood restaurant. It was like a seafood market, and they also had like a retail store. They had a restaurant, and then they had a bar on the other side. So I pretty much got hired pretty quickly. And then I went down the road. I was with my mother. We made a U-turn. I said, "Stop in here. Let me talk to this bait shop." And then I also got hired. But it took about a couple days to get hired there. And so it was kind of interesting because they were like literally probably within a quarter mile of each other. So it worked out really conveniently. When I got off one job, I could go to the other or whatever it was. But predominantly, like the bait shop job was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So it was kind of like long hours, very long hours, 12-hour days on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So now we're going to get back to the road seafood place, and that was pretty comical because um, there was a lot of things you would see, just like I'm not really big into like working the restaurant business and cooks in the kitchen. I know that there's a lot of stories they can tell, but this one I will tell you that was so creative. It made me laugh my behind off, and then it made the two people in charge look like village idiots. But anyway, so they had this guy. Man, I wish I could remember his name. I want to say it was something that started with a T, like Trey, or I know it wasn't Trey. I want to say Terry or something like that. But this guy worked in the kitchen. He was, kind of like a whatever you want to call him, like a sous chef or whatever. Just did all the kitchen prep and did a lot of stuff like that. And that was pretty much his background. So the so you know a lot of I'm going to try and say this delicately, but a lot of people in the restaurant business like have problems with like nose candy or other substances and stuff like that. So that's pretty much like a known fact. I'm not saying everyone does, but there's issues in the kitchen with people that stay up partying all night long and doing crazy stuff. Well, this one guy, he I guess he had some inconsistent behavior as far as attendance, and so after a while they got tired of having to replace his shift or whatever, so they terminated him. And the general manager was a guy named Jim, and the assistant general manager or whatever his title was I think his name was Tony, so Anthony or Tony or something like that. Guy was from New York. So all of a sudden, this dude shows back up for work like a week later, and the one guy, I think it was, I forget which one did what first, but I'm just going to, I got a 50-50 chance at telling this story correctly. But he says, like, "Hey, what are you doing here?" He goes, "Well, yeah, Jim, hired me back, and so I'm here. I'm here to work my shift and get things done or whatever." So the guy's like, "All right, well, Jim hired you, then and he's in there just doing all his business, and he worked there for like a day or two, and then Jim comes back to work. I want to say his last name in the worst way, but I'm going to try and protect him as well. And then he's like, what's T doing here? I'm just using T because I know it wasn't Trey. I know Terry might have been it. I don't think it was, but it's something like with a T. But he's like, what do you mean? What's he doing here? He told me you hired him back. He's like, hell no, I didn't hire him back. So this poor dude, this fella, he just like conned himself right back into a job. And it was the funniest thing because when Jim asked him about, why are you here? He's like, well, he hired me. And then when he's talking to the other person, he's like, no, he hired me. And neither one of them hired him back to perform his duties. But there he was. He was on time, punctual, and just performing the best of his ability. And at that point, they said, no, dude, you got to go. But I thought that was so creative. That was so funny. And so there you go. Story time number 111 in the books. And remember, if you're not sure, just blame the other person. It's usually how it happens. Peace out, folks. Remember, always know your legal limits. And there's always good stories somewhere right around the corner.